Hey, Tiger fans, Ben Rosenbaum here for another edition of the Tiger Lacrosse Report. And as always, I'm joined by the head coach of the Tigers, Sonia LaMonica. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Ben.
So, back in action again against George Mason. Wasn't your original opponent, but due to some scheduling changes, we're able to get them kind of last second-y, and you're able to get a good game in, winning 18-5. Towson ranked number 16 in the nation, now 7-2. Just your thoughts on that Mason game? Kind of a slow start. You had been off for a week, but you were able to kick things into high gear early in that first half, and then the floodgates kind of opened up.
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously with last minute scheduling, keeping our team in a mindset of being ready for anything. It's Easter Sunday and we're able to get a game kind of last minute, I think was a great opportunity for us. And I mean, I think our obviously we got to see a sort of more full strength George Mason squad than they were in position last time, the last outing we had against them. So, but ultimately it is beneficial for us to play someone else, while competing against ourselves and continuing to sharpen each other's swords is definitely, good. Getting another opponent is definitely beneficial for us, given that we had a 2-week hiatus as it was. So, I was excited when George Mason reached out about, scheduling that and getting that game off the ground. And I think, George Mason, obviously when you see a team for a second time, you've got a little more knowledge about each other. And I think, George Mason put up a good front initially. Defensively, they came out a little different. And the first time we saw them they came out in the zone, and this time they came out in just a straight up man. And, their goalie made some nice saves out of the gate. But, our team's resilient, and they continued to sort of just battle and work through that. And then we're able to sort of break things open. Overall, I was really, really, I thought we're in a good spot. And we put a lot of emphasis on kind of how we go from first half to second half. And we really saw a team coming out in the second half and igniting with a great transition goal from Sammy's defensive play into Raina, a defensive player for us this year, scoring an awesome, top shelf goal. So that was a great way to start our second half, and something that we've been putting some emphasis on.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment. Looking more at the offense. Outshot George Mason 48-15, 70% of your shots on goal. And you mentioned their goalkeeper, Rickles. She was, credit where credit due. She was outstanding for the Patriots that day. Blair Perry with 4, Nikki Sliwak with 3, 11 different Tigers score in this game. And I mean, we've been talking about the depth all year, but that really shows the range of this offensive attack where you can get it from anywhere. And you mentioned Raina Deltuva and Sammy Chenoweth. But 11 different Tigers scoring, and that had to make you happy.
Definitely does. Definitely does. I think a coach is going to love to be in that type of position, where next person up can come in and make an impact. I think our primary squad just did a great job of, sort of across the field, limiting sort of unforced errors and such. We played a relatively clean game. We put some emphasis on maybe some of the offensive looks that are marginal, that sometimes we push a little too early, a little one and done in moments. But outside of that, our primary group did a great job. And then it's really great to see some other individuals get some opportunities and to be able to come in and have some fun.
Yeah, and talking about the Raina goal, you mentioned a transition goal. First of all, that was super uplifting for the team, the whole bench, the whole roster excited. But you had a handful of transition goals in this game, and we had talked about last week or 2 weeks ago now, I guess, about using that speed that your team has more. And it seemed to be more prevalent in the game this past weekend, that you were using that speed and using those transition opportunities.
Yeah, I think as a coaching staff, we continue to put a lot of emphasis on that. And I think, the more outings that we have and the more opportunities this group has to, continue to experiment with that and push that and fine tune some of the ways that we come at the cage and transition is showing. And we want to continue to grow in that facet as we go into conference play here. I think any team who's a transition threat is dangerous, and we want to be that, and I think we're capable of being that. A great team of that in the country, to just use our speed, use our ability to move and share the ball well, and to be able to have lots of great finishes. Let the ball do some of that work, and when it's your time to finish and put the ball away, that you do that. So I'm excited to see kind of that continue to grow and evolve.
And you mentioned conference play. That's a perfect segue. Towson hosting William and Mary this weekend at 6 o'clock at Tiger Field. Look at the Tribe, kind of up and down year for them so far, struggling a little bit, 3-5 on the season, most recently a loss to Elon. You take a look at William and Mary, what jumps out at you?
I think obviously it's our first conference game. So, aside from, who it is, it's a conference game. So it's going to be really important for us. And we talked about this yesterday with the team, but, this is kind of that second phase of your season, right? And kind of everything prior to this point doesn't really matter in terms of who's done what record looks like what. Any of those factors really have no meaning other than having learned and continue to grow, and so that we can go forward being able to execute at a high level as we get into this critical phase of being able to compete in conference and compete for a CA championship. So in terms of William and Mary, this is a great segue into conference play. We've seen William and Mary play a man defense. Again, we've got to be ready for anything, but they've got a couple individuals offensively that we'll need to keep in check. And I think, we just got to continue to focus on the things that we're doing well, and just do a little bit of job in a couple of the areas like we talked about for us, so that we can come out with a solid effort and really play our best lacrosse yet. That's the goal. So not putting a ton of focus on our opponent, but as I said, all bets are off when you get into conference play. So William and Mary is going to be looking to come here to Towson and get one over us. So we got to make sure that we remain focused and ready to play our best lacrosse.
And you mentioned that, kind of take your words, all bets are off when you get into conference play. Yeah. The CAA up and down, very good, always is. You got a handful of teams in the conference this year that are ranked in the top 25 nationally. Are you surprised by that? I mean, for those of us around, obviously Towson and the CAA, we've seen it grow. We've seen how strong this conference has become. And what does that do for you guys to kind of get you up, knowing that almost every week you're going to play a team that might be in the top 25 on any given day?
It's a great place to be. I'm a coach. I invite and love having strong strength of schedule, and being in a conference that is strong, and looking for it to continue to get stronger and stronger amongst other conferences in the nation. So I think it's really exciting. That excites me. It excites me to see CA teams in the top 25. Drexel is obviously having an outstanding year. Hofstra's obviously got one of, if not one of the best players in the CAA. And I think it's interesting just this year, given the two regional pods, that it's hard to know a lot about JMU, Elon, and William and Mary, because we haven't all really played each other yet. And so there's a little bit of that unknown as well. But I think that's pretty typical in the CAA. You've always got some dark horses in the mix, and we've got to just be ready to compete hard. So at the end of the day, I love that we've got some really strong teams in our conference, and that just makes beating them all the more fun, right?
Absolutely. So the Tigers and William and Mary hit the field at Tiger Field this Saturday at 6 o'clock. That game will be available for viewing on the Lax Sports Net. Coach, thanks for joining us, and good luck as we get into conference play.
Great. Thank you.